Alright, so here we get to micro optimizations. For racing energy, after winning a race, you have a choice between taking a consistent amount of energy or gambling on less or more. They average out to be the same on average in the long run, meaning the better result is 1 out of 3 and the worst is 2 out of 3. There are some situations where it's optimal to pick one over the other though. This is most relevant in the third scenario, MANT, where doing 30 plus races in a run is normal. If you race on 0 energy, you can be punished. Thus, if one option has the chance to set you to 0 energy, or has energy to keep you away from 0 energy, you should choose accordingly. In MANT, on a win, the top option is minus 20 energy, and the bottom option is either minus 10 or minus 25. We currently have 20 energy, and choosing the bottom option is clearly the best, as you have a chance to stay above 0. If you have 21 to 25, then choosing the top is the best, since getting the minus 25 energy outcome would put you to 0. It gets a bit more complicated when you have multiple races in a row. If you're planning to race 3 times and you're at 41 to 45 energy, then picking the top option on the first 2 races will guarantee you to have enough energy remaining for the third race. If you pick the bottom again minus 25, then you're at 26 to 20 energy and have to gamble on the bottom again, and get minus 10 in order to avoid hitting 0 energy. On the other hand, if you're at 46 plus, you'll be at 21 plus after minus 25. Then you could choose the top to remain above 0. Choosing the bottom is best here, since getting minus 10 twice in a row will help a lot. Note that you can't get punished for races that happen on the final turn before an objective, or races that are objectives. In MANT, this means the races at the end of the years. Even if you do get in as your third race and have 0 energy, you won't receive any downside. The same applies in other scenarios. For example, in Ohio Guri Camp can't get punished after Rizuka in senior year, since it's her objective turn. Hint pruning. You can't get hints for skills you already own. This applies both to actual hints from cards and later scenario mechanics like our Horror Explosions or MANT rivals. Thus, you can buy skills early to take them out of the hint pool to increase the chance of getting the other skills. The downside of this is it won't be discounted by Fast Learner if you obtain it later in the run. Note that you also can't get hints for skills that are already at hint level 5, so if that happens, there's no rush to buy them. This is mainly used for debuffer Umas. Cards like Rudolph have many hints. Buying them as you get them will increase the chance of getting other debuff hints in the future. However, it can also be used for other Umas. In MANT, you can buy things like Pace Chaser straightaways to make it more likely to get Pace Chaser corners, for instance. Naturally, for racing Umas, you'll only want to buy skills you actually want, unlike debuffers who will buy anything the cards give them. You should also keep in mind what mechanics this scenario is used to give you hints. For example, in our Haru, the explosions give you hints for aptitudes you have at A, so it's optimal to have as few A-rank aptitudes as possible, making Umas like Mata and Cafe better. SSR chain events. Whether you finish or even seize the chain events for SSR is mostly random, but it's related to how many total chain events are in your deck. Each one competes to be chosen. When the deck has 6 SSRs, each SSR will finish your own chain, less often than if it was a deck with 3 SSRs and 3 SRs, for example. If you just want to finish one chain for a gallery completion or for a mission, etc., you should take 1 SSR and 5 Rs to make it highly likely. At the side note, this is why speedruns use 6 R cards. There are no chain events to take up time. Cards that can end their own chain early are good for this, such as Mayana Top Gun or Kurin-chan. Ending the chain removes the later 2 events from the pool, raising the chance you'll see the others. Cards with states, either our friend or group cards, also don't have chain events, but there are then where they ask you to date count you as one. Extra training. Extra training is an event that comes up after doing training. You can choose to get +5 energy or +5 of the stat you traded in -5 energy. For the most part, you should always choose energy, unless you're in a situation where you don't need energy. For example, a whip build can usually afford the -5 energy since their training restores energy, or if you're about to rest or use the day before an energy restoring event that would likely pull you up to 4. For example, the New Year's event. However, the bond you gain from doing this extra training can be helpful in some situations. For example, you need the chairman's bond to be at green in order to get your skill level up in senior year. You'll also get more stats in the end if she's fully bonded. If you know you're low on bond with her, you can do the extra training. Career race style. The general early game recommendation is to do front runner for every race, regardless of your Uma's aptitude. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't really see anyone do this, but I guess it's optimal. This avoids the chance of getting surrounded/blocked, which leads to losses in races you otherwise easily win. It can still happen if you get a late start, but certainly much less. It's technically the weakest style, but when you outstats enemies, it doesn't matter. Oh, this is for like when you already have a Hubo with properly set up parents and cards, so they easily outstyle the low grade ones. Another consideration, though, is stamina. Late Surger uses the least stamina of all styles, so if it's a longer race and your Uma is traded for, picking late Surger can help you win. This is especially useful on Umas like Bequeed, King Halo, and so on. Later scenarios give you hints for the style you can run the race, so you'll generally just do the style you want Uma to eventually be in every one of those races. Stats. Speed is always an important stat. You will want as much of it as possible, as it increases your top speed during the last sprint. The base speed is equal to 20 minus course lengths minus 2,000 course lengths minus the course lengths minus 2,000 divided by 1,000 times the phase modifier. The final leg speed is equal to the base speed plus the square root of 500 times the speed times the distance altitude times 0.002. The max spurt speed is equal to the final leg speed plus 0.01 times base speed times 1.05 plus square root of 500 times speed times distance altitude times 0.02. Stamina is necessary up to a point, then starts to fall off depending on distance. How much you need is based on a variety of factors. The lower your speed, the less you'll need. Pace chasers also receive an 11% stamina penalty. For a target stamina for each distance, see the required stamina chart below. Long distances will have a wide variety of distances, from 2,500 up to 3,600 meters. If you're targeting ones on the shorter end, you can skip more on stamina. There are 2,600 meter or lower over half the time, with the other half being 3,000 meter plus in team trials. On top of causing you to lose speed when you run out of HP, your remaining HP also affects how long and how fast your last spurt will be. If you lack stamina, your Uma will start her last spurt later or run slower to use her HP more effectively. If you completely run out of HP, you'll quickly decelerate. Power is more important in short distances, but it actually helps out. It affects how quickly you accelerate to your top speed. In longer races, you have more time to accelerate, so having a high acceleration doesn't have as big as an impact. For the most part, if you meet your stamina goal, you will focus as much on speed as possible, then power second. Base acceleration is equal to 0.0006 normally, or 0.0004 on uphills, and acceleration is equal to the base acceleration times the square root of 500 times the power times the phase modifier times the surface altitude. Power also affects your speed on uphills. When going uphill, you'll receive a speed penalty of 100 times and the tangent of angle in radians, the absolute value of the tangent of the angle in radians times 200 divided by the power. It also affects how quickly you can change lanes. Your lane change speed is 0.02 times 0.3 plus 0.001 times the power meters per second. Guts isn't useful in large numbers, but you'll need a small amount of it. Umas will want to have at least 300 guts, but rarely more than 400. Up to 400 is close to equivalent to stamina. While after it falls off, see the stamina versus guts section for more details. The final HP consumption modifier is 1 plus 200 divided by the square root of 600 times guts. Wit, aka wisdom, affects your skill trigger rates, as well as some other things. Aim to have between 300 and 500 wisdom for any Uma. Any more than that, it will start to fall off too much. You can see a chart of the skill proc chance based on your wisdom here. So 55% on 200, 70% at 300, 77.5 at 400, 82% at 500, 85% at 600, and 87% at 700. Yeah, it does fall off quite hard after this part. This growth is way less than these growths, even if they're by increments by 100. We also affects the chance their UMA suffers from the rushed debuff. Whether the UMA will suffer rushed is determined at the start of the race based on the wisdom check. The chance is 6.5 divided by log 10 of 0.1 times wit plus 1 to the squared percent. Rushed will occur at mostly a random point in the first half of the race. It lasts for 12 seconds, but you will have a 55% chance to break free every 3 seconds. While in a rush, the UMA will consume HP 60% faster and switch their style to a more aggressive one. For example, late surger might become pace chaser or front runner, and front runner acts like twin turbo. At 200 wisdom, there is a 24.17% chance. 300, there's 19%. 400, there's 16.24%. 500, there's 14.49%. 600, there's 13.26%. And 700, there's 12.32%. Also, yeah, the chance is always never zero. We can also give you a chance to increase your speed on downhills. The speed boost you get from downhill is 0.3 plus the absolute value of 100 times the tangent of the angle of radians divided by 10. And the chance you receive is 0.04% times wisdom. Wait, percent times or 0.04 times? And yeah, if it's percent times, then yeah, the race is pretty small. Like even at 1,000, there's only like, we'll leave 4% per 100 rate, per 100 weight. No, that's all how it works. The chance is this amount percent, not the percent of the weight. Okay. Another thing wit does is to help determine your target speed at each section of the race. There are 24 such sections, and each of them, your UMA applies a random modifier to our target speed with the help of your wit. The max modifier is wit divided by 5,500 times the log 10 wit times 0.1%. The minimum modifier is max speed minus 0.65. Advances aren't short. At 200 wisdom, the maximum is 0.047%. The minimum model is to lose 0.603%. At 300, the maximum modifier is 0.81%. At the minimum is negative 0.59%. At 400, the max is 0.17. And the minimum is negative 0.533. And at 500, there's a 0.15% hand with a negative of like 0.496%. And 600 is 0.194% and a negative 0.456%. Yeah, these chances are quite low. And the maximum is at 700, the maximum is 0.25%, and the minimum is negative 415%. Also, yeah, these are quite interesting stats.